Hello, all you freedom-loving people. President Trump's negotiating tactics, such as saying he wants to buy Greenland, have stirred mixed reactions. Nevertheless, many see the genius when compared to the far-left policies. Okay, let's get into it. Today, New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan gave President Trump an unconditional discharge in his sentencing in the business records case, also known as the hush money case. This means that President Trump does not face any penalties beyond a conviction that was entered into his legal record. President Trump and his attorney Todd Blanche were on screen from Florida during the hearing. During the trial, prosecutor Joshua Steinglass referred to President Trump's conduct throughout the trial as a direct attack on the rule of law itself. He claimed that President Trump had threatened retaliation against those who wronged him in legal matters. While President Trump's defense also favored the unconditional discharge sentence, Todd Blanche did rebut the prosecution. Blanche said, "I very much disagree with much of what the government just said about this case, about the legitimacy of what happened in this courtroom during this trial, and about President Trump's conduct fighting this case." President Trump argued that he was not involved in the records that triggered the case. He said the payment was a legal expense and that his business labeled it that way, as a legal expense. President Trump said, "I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong. It was done to damage my reputation so that I would lose the election, and obviously that didn't work." He called the case a weaponization of the government. Judge Merchan said during sentencing, "Never before has this court been presented with such a unique and remarkable set of circumstances." In Judge Merchan's ruling, he said that it is the legal protection afforded to the office of the President of the United States that are extraordinary, not the occupant. Judge Merchan declined to impose any terms of imprisonment or fines, and he wished President Trump Godspeed as he prepares for a second term in office before leaving. Afterwards, President Trump posted, "Today's event was a despicable charade, and now that it's over, we will appeal this hoax which has no merit and restore the trust of Americans in our once great system of justice. Make America great again." Now that President Trump will return to the White House, it's time to consider your retirement and portfolio. The Wall Street Journal said gold will outperform stocks in 2025. President Trump threatened BRICS countries with 100% tariffs as they move away from the US dollar. Since 2022, gold has surged 40%, and after the US seized Russia's assets, that was a wake-up call for central banks around the globe to diversify their reserves away from the dollar and into gold. Goldman Sachs has warned the S&P will generate paltry returns over the next decade. At the same time, Goldman Sachs said that President Trump's presidency will light a fire under gold, pushing it to $31.50 an ounce. The threat of stagflation, our national debt, tariffs, and global de-dollarization will ignite gold prices as President Trump takes office. Isn't it time to protect your retirement with gold or place a bullish bet on silver? The time is now to call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group. Call them today before it's too late and tell them the front page with Scott Goulet sent you, and you'll always get the best in class service from Patriots protecting Patriots. The Patriot Gold Group has the no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. So call the toll-free number, call 888-857-0495 and get a free investor guide today, or click the link in the description below to visit the website, and you can also scan the QR code. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row. Again, call 888-857-0495. That's 888-857-0495. The California wildfires have taken the focus of the U.S. media away from President Trump's negotiation tactics, but President Trump's proposition to buy Greenland is just beginning to make waves in Europe. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz made a hastily arranged statement on Wednesday to a number of European heads of state and to Antonio Costa, the president of the European Council, regarding President Trump's suggestion. He said, "The principle of the inviolability of borders applies to every country regardless of whether it lies to the east of us or the west, and every state must keep to it regardless of whether it is a small country or a very powerful state. It is a fundamental principle of international law and a key part of what we call Western values." French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot also dismissed President Trump's comments. Barrot claimed that modern times are not a time for the jungle. He said that no country should be intimidated. He also emphasized that the EU will never stand by and watch foreign attacks on the overseas territories of its member states. Of course, Barrot also said that he didn't believe the U.S. would invade the large Arctic island, which has been part of Denmark for more than 600 years. An EU spokesman may have jumped to conclusions when he said that President Trump refused to rule out the possibility of military action to take over Greenland. He called it crazy hypotheticals. The media in Europe have been busy interpreting the meaning behind President Trump's words. Corriere della Sera, a mainstream Italian newspaper, commented that President Trump has always had the ability to take center stage and attract media attention. The paper wrote, "Remember when Trump used to start tweeting on social media from as early as 5 a.m. to start a storm?" The commentary noted that, despite his age, President Trump is still well-versed in the art of political showmanship, and he knows how to master public discourse. The paper also wrote, "Trump will force everyone to talk about what he wants to do." But this media outlet believes that there's no necessary connection between what President Trump says and what he does. According to the article, President Trump likes to set off fireworks every day, such as threatening, "I'm going to buy Greenland," or "I'm going to take back Panama." President Trump uses the drama of the crowd's reaction. It's like running a zoo and yelling, "The lions have escaped," and then observing the result. Although the author of the article believes that being the leader of a large country should not be used to run the country in such a way, he also admits that it's quite useful. For example, in 2017, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had suspended certain nuclear and missile tests after President Trump threatened to destroy them. The article points out that because of President Trump's speaking style, he has already achieved some international political successes, even though he has not taken office yet. For example, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who has faced off with President Trump over tariffs, has announced that he is stepping down. Of course, there are many reasons for Trudeau's fall, and they have been building up for some time. But the key trigger was the disagreement within the government over President Trump's tariff threats. Under the shadow of President Trump's threat to take back the Panama Canal, the Panama president, Jose Raul Molino, has recently offered President Trump expanded cooperation in order to close transit routes for illegal immigrants. When it comes to the Straits of Panama, many have joked about President Trump's allegations, criticizing U.S. ships for having to pay big money to cross a canal that was built by Americans themselves. But a New York Times investigation has found that China has taken over the operation of some of the strategic infrastructure there, exposing concerns that have existed since the Biden administration took over. Exposing the CCP takeover is what President Trump's seemingly out-of-the-ordinary comments have accomplished. Still, many people can't understand President Trump's tricks. That's why before the election, when President Trump accused Haitian immigrants of eating pets, many assumed that President Trump would lose the White House on this ridiculous accusation. And the scandal involving a comedian who insulted Puerto Ricans while President Trump was campaigning in New York was also called a fatal accident. But as it turns out, neither was relevant. President Trump even strengthened the support of the Puerto Rican community in the election. From this commentary, it appears that President Trump's seemingly insane and illogical delivery is understood by American adversaries and by American public, but politicians and the mainstream media and the so-called elites don't get it. But the latest news is that President Trump says President Putin is willing to meet with him. He said President Putin wants to meet and we are setting it up. President Trump told this to a news briefing at his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. He also said, We have to get that war over with. That's a bloody mess. Russia says it's open to dialogue and diplomacy. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Friday, President Putin has repeatedly stated his openness to contacts with international leaders, including the U.S. president, including Donald Trump. No conditions are required for this. What is required is a mutual desire and political will to conduct a dialogue. Peskov said that President Trump's overture was welcome, but he said no specific date had been set, and after Mr. Trump assumes office, there will be some developments. Also regarding the topic of Greenland, there are many people who show support for President Trump. Mike Waltz, the nominee for National Security Advisor, said that Greenland is critical to U.S. national security. He emphasized the significance of Greenland to U.S. national security with its vast mineral and natural resources such as oil and gas, as well as rare metals. Greenland is also beginning to see Arctic shipping lanes through the Arctic Ocean, and the U.S. needs to ensure the safety of those lanes. Waltz said in an interview with Fox News, "We have Russia that is trying to become king of the Arctic with 60-plus icebreakers, some of them nuclear power. We have 2, and 1 just caught on fire. As the polar ice caps pull back, the Chinese are now cranking out icebreakers and pushing up there as well. It's our national security." During his first term, President Trump suggested that Denmark should sell Greenland, but the Danish government refused to do so. Greenland's prime minister has also said that the island is not for sale, but they still look forward to working with the new Trump administration in order to ensure security and stability in the region. In response, Waltz said that Denmark was an ally of the United States, but that Denmark could not treat Greenland as a remote region. Geographically, Greenland is located in the Western Hemisphere. It's also closer to New York than it is to Copenhagen. If we assess from the Orton window theory, the feasibility of a policy depends mainly on whether it is within the policy range acceptable to the majority of the people during this period of time, rather than the personal preferences of the politicians. Republican Representative Dan Gill of Texas has argued that the people of Greenland want to be part of the United States. The newly sworn-in lawmaker said during a Wednesday afternoon appearance on CNN, "I think the people of Panama, I think the people of Greenland, I think that the people of Canada, for that matter, should be honored that President Trump wants to bring these territories under the American fold." Waltz also noted that President Trump's son, Trump Jr., visited Greenland this week and that the locals looked excited about the idea of bringing Greenland into the Western Hemisphere. But the political elites seem to have been ignorant of the will of the people. They have always thought that what they want or what they are willing to accept is what the world should accept. Well, the results may teach them a lesson. Look at Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He became Prime Minister in 2015 with over 60% approval rating, and he was hugely popular with the youth. But he preached the far-left liberal ideology, diversity, inclusion, etc. This rhetoric sounded appealing to the inexperienced youth, and the media was attracted to it for a short period of time. But once it was put into practice, problems arose. Canadian society is in such a state of disarray that people are not even meeting their basic needs, and even the middle class is struggling to survive. Canada's housing market is one of the most unaffordable in the world and has one of the highest house price to income ratios. Renters are having trouble affording the rising rents year after year, and a few even end up having to live in tents. Tent shelters are not limited to low-income jobless people, but also to working people who can't afford to rent a room. Why is this happening? Because the Canadian government has taken in more immigrants than the country can afford, regardless of the reality of the situation. Instead of offering a resolution, the Trudeau government is ignoring them and even introducing policies that make the problem worse in the name of liberal progress. Under Trudeau's leadership, Canada has accepted more immigrants and refugees every year. From 2021 to 2023, immigrants increased to an all-time high of about 430,000 immigrants per year. While welcoming immigrants and refugees is a morally sound policy, these immigrants are coming into Canada in droves without an increase in housing and jobs. This is driving up the existing social problems, and it is making it difficult for local Canadians to live. And Canada also legalized marijuana in 2018. As of January 2024, there are over 3,600 marijuana stores across the country. These marijuana stores are crowding out other stores that are doing their regular business. Even Tim Hortons, which is Canada's most represented chain, has fewer than the marijuana stores in terms of numbers. After these 9+ years of the Trudeau government, the Canadian public has finally realized that a Liberal government that holds up left-wing ideas but ignores the lives of the people is neither progressive nor can it bring about a better life. In the end, it can only collapse because it is out of touch with the people. It has been proven that all the so-called progressive and far-left noble policies have brought disaster and eventual poverty. Just look at California. The wildfire in California has killed at least 10 people now. One estimate of the damage and the economic loss already caused by the catastrophic fires stands at $135 to $150 billion. And Joe Rogan spoke about a California firefighter's prediction of such a blaze on his program half a year ago. The video is now circulating widely on social media.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons it freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it.
California is a fire-prone state. Everyone knows this fact, but progressive politicians ignore the very real risk of concentrating on progressive pet policies. The wildfire-ravaged Pacific Palisades residential area of Los Angeles is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the United States. According to a Reuters analysis, the area previously had some of the most affordable homeowners insurance costs in the nation prior to this week's tragic disaster. When measured by home values, Palisades insurance costs were cheaper than 97% of U.S. neighbors. California's consumer-friendly regulations have dampened prices even in high-risk areas. But insurance companies are not here to do charity work. Therefore, they decided to withdraw from the market. We talked about this part yesterday. So now many residents of Pacific Palisades are without homeowners insurance because insurance companies no longer cover properties in this high-priced and high-risk area. We also talked about the LA City Council's cut of more than $17 million from its fire budget. So where did that money go? It was used to bail out illegal immigrants, diversity, and other leftist policies. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you, but please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that many of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore on YouTube. So when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth.